What's the dumbest myth people today believe? Lie detectors as a literal thing. There's a reason they aren't admissible as evidence in court in most places. So are they basically anxiety measurers? I get really anxious if I get accused of something, but only if I didn't do it. And yet people think refusing a lie detector test is suspicious. Those things are not reliable at all. My dad had this guy helping him out. Think big box store die curb ready helper, who told him if you sleep with your hair wet, you will bleed out of your mouth. You will bleed out of your mouth. And he was 110 sure that was fact. We were both just confused and bewildered at this statement. What the hell had this guy witnessed? Completely unrelated, but I had somebody tell me that it was really windy the other day, because there was a meteor that passed close to Earth. If you drop a penny off a skyscraper, it will eventually fall fast enough to puncture someone's skull. By that logic, raindrops would hurt like a bitch or straight up kill you, not to mention hate. I've met people who think terminal velocity is the speed at which point an object can kill you. There are dumber ones out there, but the one I, as an estate lawyer, deal with constantly is the idea that there needs to be a reading of the will, where the family all gather and the lawyer reads it aloud to them for the first time. We don't do that. We just mail everyone their own copy if they want it. It's a really stubbornly persistent one because people continue to see scenes of it in movies and TV shows where it's used for some big dramatic reveal. I've even had irate beneficiaries insist that the administration of the estate can't be official until there's a reading. Way back, like 150 years ago or so, I believe we used to do something like that at times, because you couldn't exactly presume literacy on the part of the beneficiaries. But now we feel it's a pretty safe bet that you can either read it or find someone who can. Disappointed there won't be a dramatic videotaped reading where Gramps confirms most of his estate will be left to his cat and his ungrateful heirs won't receive a penny. They'd also do it because everyone was already together and it was easier than trying to communicate by horse-drawn mail. So some people don't believe a literal estate lawyer when you tell them. What do they think your rationale would be for not agreeing to it? You're just mean or something? Black belts have to register their fists as weapons. I can't believe I was dumb enough to fall for that. If you walk around with your hands in your pockets, do they become concealed weapons? I had an ex tell me that. She had papers and everything. Tear here to open. I live in fear of tearing a check in half every time I have to fold that crease, then tear. Detox drinks. Used to work somewhere that sold juice cleanses. Your body does not need something to cleanse its liver and kidneys like that. Your liver and kidneys are the cleansers. If anything, you're just giving them a break by laying off alcohol and cheeseburgers. You only feel better cause for a couple days. You're actually getting some vitamins into your system for once and aren't eating steaming piles of shit at every meal. It's not the presence of the juice. It's the absence of the other shit. The fruit juices portion are just sugary and tasty. Of course, they feel good. It is believed in Indian culture that keeping your unibrow means good luck. I kept my unibrow for 20 years, thinking it is my good luck until I got stage 5 of kidney failure, and I did my eyebrows after that, because who gives a fuck about luck anymore? Now my eyebrows look cute af. It is believed in Indian culture that keeping your unibrow means good luck. Indian culture, and I think most old cultures, TBH, have this thing where they take something that is usually seen as a negative in society and try to spin it as a good luck or fortune thing to make everyone accept it. Like massive foreheads mean intelligence. I can't think of others now, but there are plenty. I guess back in the day, it helped those that would otherwise be ostracized or bullied get accepted. That you eat spiders in your sleep. Spider will not knowingly walk into a predator's mouth. They can sense both the heartbeat, heat, and noise from humans. All things that would alert them not to go into our mouth. I kinda needs this to be true. I blame my weight on the copious amounts of spiders I'm ingesting every night. I had a bug crawl into my ear once while sleeping. It was surfing traumatizing. It was stuck and trying to fly out so loud. I ran to the bathroom and flushed it out with water. But oh my God, I couldn't quit thinking about it when trying to get back to sleep. You have to wait 48 hours to report someone missing. This one's downright harmful. Just a couple weeks ago, my wife and I reported my missing Mile, who has dementia, to the police after she was missing for only 3 hours. It was just getting dark and was around 40 degrees, with temps dropping. Honestly, I expected to be brushed off and not taken seriously. Instead, a full search and rescue was initiated rather quickly with a plane, drones, a K-9 unit, and several dozen people on foot, reporting on social media, and a text sent to everyone in the area, and a text sent to everyone in the area, and who knows what else. She was found several hours later, miles away, by a good Samaritan who called the police, and they were able to match up the description on our missing persons report. She'd crossed county lines by foot, but the counties were able to easily make the connection. So yeah, lesson learned. You don't have to wait. I felt silly for calling, but it made a big difference to getting her home safely. I remember the myth that gum takes 7 years to fully pass through your digestive system. That takes me back to being 5 years old again. I think that was just a mum tactic to keep you from constantly swallowing your gum. My 6-year-old daughter accidentally swallowed some gum a couple of months ago. She excitedly told me when she saw it come out into the toilet later. She knows the truth. Edit. Yet again, one of my top comments is poop-related. Sigh. Sigh. When I had cancer a few years back and was doing chemotherapy, I had people who constantly questioned that I actually had cancer, due to the fact that my hair didn't fall out until I was actually in remission, had been off chemo for about 2-3 weeks, when my hair started gradually thinning and falling out. It's a complete myth that every single person's hair will have the same reaction to chemo. Some people lose hair right away, some don't. Everybody is different. There were people who accused my wife of lying about her lymphoma because she didn't look sick. People don't understand that chemo isn't one drug. It's dozens of different drugs, in different combinations and dosage schedules. So you might anticipate people respond to it differently. Not even to mention that not every cancer diagnosis even requires chemo. I found out I had thyroid cancer my senior year of HIS, had surgery 2 weeks later, and have been cancer-free for the 8 years since. People thought I was lying because I never lost any hair. Smut. Not sure if this fits here exactly, but the McDonald's hot coffee lawsuit being a frivolous case filed by a money-hungry customer. That poor lady was a real victim who suffered legitimate injuries, who only wanted her medical costs covered. I would never call that a myth. I would call that a hatchet job, conspiracy, plot, media manipulation, character assassination, whatever you want. But you're correct. That poor lady was done so dirty by McDonald's after the lawsuit. She spilled the molten coffee on her crotch, which melted her privates closed. Indeed, that is definitely not just a frivolous thing. That Einstein failed his grade school math class. It was the subject of a Ripley's Believe It or Not column in 1935, and Einstein himself refuted the article. In primary school, he had been at the top of class, and by 15, he had mastered differential and integral calculus. If I recall correctly, it had to do with him moving between schools, and one graded students from 1-6 and the other graded in the reverse, from 6-1. So someone at some point mixed something up and thought Einstein failed class, even though, in reality, he had a perfect grade. Yeah, the only thing I remember hearing is that at one point in his work he had to further study a branch of mathematics that he wasn't as familiar with, but I forget which one, and commenting on not being as versed in this particular field as some of his colleagues. The really remarkable thing about Einstein's work to me is how much he could simplify a proof to make it digestible. You can derive gamma from special relativity and prove to yourself the relativity of time with grade 11 math. Headlights off at night is a banger initiation rite, so don't flash your lights at them. I read this as people driving around looking for gangbangs. I remember when this hit the news back in the 90s. They ran stories about not flashing oncoming cars or you may be shot. This phenomenon now has a name. Top-tier trolling. We'll never find out who started that rumor, but I'm sure they're still laughing to this very day. At some point, a viral video allegedly proved that the beg buttons at crosswalks are just placebos. Some of them are, but most of them really do add a cycle for pedestrians to get a walk signal. You should use them regardless. In Nice, they are placebos. The lights are either controlled by simple timing logic or by dot to limit traffic congestion. Out in the suburbs, they actually work. There are a few lights around where I live that will not turn green unless there is a vehicle present. They use a sensor to detect when a vehicle is waiting. My motorcycle does not trigger the sensor, so I hop off and press the crosswalk button and hop back on. It triggers a green light. That magnetic jewelry healing will cure just about anything. A dude named Mesmer the 1780 came up with the idea, and it had been debunked many times. Yet it's still a billion-dollar industry. Fun fact, the word mesmerized is related to him. I've got to constantly tell people that my cool magnetic bracelet isn't for healing or anything. I'm a seamstress, and it holds my pins. But that always gets forgotten about because did you know those can align your spiritual energies? Like, aligning my pins and needles isn't cool enough. See also homeopathy, something debunked 100 years ago but still persists. It's the idea that water molecules carry the memory of things they touch, and you can be cured of any health ailment by being exposed to what made you sick. So they take like some bacteria or a virus, mix it in water, dilute it like 1,000 times until you're left with just water. Then give you the water as medicine and say you're cured. It goes against everything we know about chemistry and biology. And there are still people who believe that having sex in certain positions or eating certain foods can influence the sex of your unborn child or impact whether you have twins multiple. Look, if Sims has taught me anything, it's that carrots and alt music get you a boy, strawberries and pop music gets you a girl. Pregnancy lasts 3 days, labor takes hours, and babies spawn their own bassinet. I had a friend who thought if you didn't have sex or masturbate for a while, then it increased your chances of having twins, triplets. That humans only use 10 of their brain. This is false, regardless of how those who proclaim this myth seemingly demonstrate that it is in fact true. I had a health teacher in school who told us once it's probably okay to actually drink during pregnancy, because chances of the brain damage will happen to the 90s of the brain humans don't use, so it won't have any effect on the baby. He proved this by talking about some woman he knew who drank during pregnancy, and one of her sons is a student in the gifted program, and the other one is an idiot. The gifted student got lucky and got brain damage to the unused 90. Just what if? This is like saying we only use 33 of a traffic signal. Life is fair, and bad things only happen to people who deserve it. Some of the shittiest people sleep like fucking babies at night, and it's really frustrating. It seems like the most humble, thoughtful people are the ones with insomnia and being kept up at night, worrying about things in my experience. And annoyingly, it seems like narcissists in particular sleep very well at night. They are such headaches of people to deal with. Yes, the just world fallacy. So much damage done, and actually makes the world more dangerous, since victims are reluctant to come forward and report. That shaving makes your hair grow back thicker. My 37-year-old partner still believes this, and it does my nut in. My mom laid this on me thick when I started asking her if I could shave my legs. She made me think that once you shave, you can't go back to not shaving, or you'll turn into Sasquatch. This was the 90s, with information readily available. What made her think that is beyond me. Joke's on you, Mum. I don't shave from November to April every year, and my leg hair is the least weird thing about me, thank you. Had a cab driver insisting that the reactor meltdown at Fukushima was a failed Chinese attack on the US. The plan was to superheat the rods so they'd burn into the ground through the center of the earth and come out in America and irradiate it. Amazing. There's a lot to unpack in that, but the one that stands out is if it sinks to the center of the earth, how the hell is it going to sink upward again? According to this website, tunneling through the earth from Fukushima would get you in the Atlantic Ocean around the Brazil-Uruguay border. So even if that cabbie was right about Fukushima, and even setting aside that it wouldn't burn through the earth like that, it wouldn't have come out in the us. That conspiracy theory fails on every point. I can confirm. The 2011 earthquake was caused by the CP demanding all 1.4 billion Chinese people to jump at the same time. Oh, I don't want to make more money, because then I'll lose more money to taxes and take home less. You only get taxed on the money that's made above your current bracket. It's literally impossible to make more money and take home less. Many people still believe hymens are like plastic food seals that cover up the hole and get popped when you have sex for the first time, and if a girl doesn't bleed, she's not a virgin. Yep, it's a dumb one. It's just a thin piece of tissue. It can tear from things that aren't sex and can heal as well, and some women just never had one. So you can have a woman who's a virgin, whose hymen has been torn, and a woman who's taken a break from having almost daily sex, whose hymen is entirely intact. Piggybacking on the vagina topic, the myth that multiple partners will make a vagina loose. Here's what actually happens. The vagina tenses up during arousal to create more room for a penis, sort of like a reverse erection. Being nervous can inhibit that process. Unless there is a medical condition like vaginism present, experienced women have an easier time relaxing enough to make penetration possible, getting wet and tenting up, and who knows, even having fun with it. You're not supposed to cram it in there when she's not warmed up and euphemize it with "you're so tight, baby." Halloween candy is commonly laced with drugs or razor blades. No one, and I mean no one, is giving their drugs to your 8-year-old for free. The only evidence of this actually happening is a parent trying to poison their own child. So as long as you aren't the one poisoning your kid, there's probably nothing to worry about, because it's always the goal of dealers to give away free drugs. I still believe that if any of my limbs hang off the bed while sleeping, that a monster will grab them. I also believe that the moment I remember this and pull them back on the bed is just in the nick of time before a monster grabs them. You can't prove there isn't a monster under my bed. I think you've misinterpreted the OP. What you listed is just a fact. I tested this several times after I stopped running up the basement stairs before the monsters got me. Quite frankly, if I do have monsters, those fuckers owe me rent. I also want all my missing socks back, but I still haven't caught any yet. I'll keep you poor. Yea, I sleep under your bed, and except for occasional noodle-like things hanging from the edge of the bed for a few moments, there's nothing else. Had to explain to a grown-ass adult that blood isn't blue inside the body and red once it hits oxygen, because blood already carries oxygen. Eater? I didn't expect this to take off, I first commented when the post was brand new, and only had 30 comments. I understand that I came off as a snarky asshole about it, but the dude and I were cool after 10 minutes of convincing him that what he was taught was a myth. No hurt feelings, buds. Red blood is iron-based, blue blood is copper-based. Offhand, the only organism I can think of with blue blood is a horseshoe crab. I've been taught this from multiple teachers in school. Fuck. Anything about Miska? I battle with my health-conscious wife about this often. Edit. Too much of anything is bad for you. I still don't understand the demonization of Miska. King of flavor. It's only because of the chemical-derived name. Everything is a damn chemical. She probably has no issue sprinkling sodium chloride all over her food, but is afraid of monosodium glutamate. They're just two different salts. Miski makes shit good. I'm almost out of my bottle of accent. Miski's amazing, and its bad rap is all due to some racist shithead from the 80s-60s. Almost nobody has any real reaction to it, and most of the ones who say they do just think they do. It naturally occurs in all kinds of foods most people eat regularly. It's absolute bullshit, and people still like to pretend natural misk in things like tomatoes and mushrooms is different than miski in prepared food, so they can continue to perpetuate that Chinese food is bad, and they're trying to hurt you. If Chinese food sets you off, then Hidden Valley Ranch, Chick-fil-A, KFC, Doritos, and a bunch of other processed food should too. Some people are sensitive to whiskey, but there are people sensitive to every single ingredient. Salt is just as dangerous, and sensitivity to it is way more common. By that logic, if foods are salted beyond what naturally occurring sodium there is in the ingredients, we should campaign against that too. People think bats are blind. They aren't. So many people think narwhals are mythical. A more serious one, that people who have been hurt or oppressed are morally better. My mom thought that because she had been hurt by her dad, whatever she did to the family was somehow justified. The Hutus were legitimately oppressed by the Tutsis, but to be fair, that comes back to Leopold, the patron Satan of Africa. All people are fundamentally similar. My sister, who is 37, just found out seahorses were real. And she goes to the aquarium, which has seahorses, several times a month for the last 8 years. Edit. She goes to the aquarium a lot because she has kids. That if you touch a baby bird, its mother will abandon it because of the smell. Birds actually have a very crappy sense of smell. Burras are shita. Yes, I realize there are exceptions, such as vultures, that do have a good sense of smell, but in general, smelly. A human on their baby won't make them abandon them, as far as I am aware. The reason you shouldn't touch or take away a baby bird is because more likely than not, the parent bird is around and aware of the situation, and you will scare them away. That he who smelt it, dealt it. That is the defense of the guilty. The moon landing was fake, ignoring that there was 6 moon landings. There is no way Russia or China wouldn't call them out. Russia had launched the Sputnik and had the first human in space. They had the means to track the moon landers, Both China and Russia can now get satellite maps of the moon. They can see the lander on the surface. No way either of them wouldn't miss the chance to humiliate the US. It is to fix spelling error. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. Yes, it does. That's the entire reason for lightning rods on buildings.